Okay, here is some extra practice for the 30, 60, 90 triangles. Again, this is that number 1 worksheet that is in your notes packet. And we will again, like we did for the 45, 45, 90, we'll do the first 6 together just to give you a little more extra practice with that. And then you will try the bottom 6 and you can check out my solutions on Canvas. So for the 30, 60, 90, remember, we first want to fill in our angles. So there's 90, there's 30, and we can get 60 in here. I think it's very helpful to label your side lengths. And again, across the right angle is the hypotenuse, across the 30 is the short leg, and across the 60 is the long leg. Again, we have 2 relationships to remember this time. Between the short leg and hypotenuse, the relationship is 2. And between the short leg and long leg, the relationship is square root of 3. And then we're just having to think about doing multiply or divide. Are we trying to get a bigger number or a smaller number? So in this particular case, if I'm starting with the short leg and I want to get the hypotenuse, I know I'm trying to get a bigger number because the hypotenuse is always the biggest length. So I'm going to multiply, and then that relationship that I need to remember is 2. So I'm just multiplying by 2, and so 6 times 2 gives me 12. Okay, I want to show that off to the side. I can show what I'm doing. Okay, then over here, to go from short leg to long leg, remember I'm trying to get a bigger number, so I'm going to multiply. And what do I multiply by? Is square root of 3. So over here, I've got 6 square root of 3. Okay, so I didn't really have a lot of extra work I had to do. That one's a pretty straightforward one. Over here, I've got my 60 and 90, so therefore that should be 30. And again, label those sides. Across in the right angle is the hypotenuse, across in the 30 is the short leg, across in the 60 is the long leg. So from there, this time I know the hypotenuse is 14, and I need to get the short leg. So again, I'm just dividing by 2. So 14 divided by 2 gives me 7. Once I know the short leg, then I need to multiply to get the long leg. I'm trying to get a bigger number. What's the relationship? What do I multiply by? Square root of 3. So I've got 7 square root of 3. Okay. All right, on number 3, if we've got 60 and 90, then I know that angle is 30. Again, label your side lengths. Across in the 60 is long leg, across in the 30 is short leg, across in the 90 is the hypotenuse. And in that particular case, then I can say that, okay, if I know the long leg and I'm trying to get the short leg, I'm going to divide. I'm trying to get a smaller number. And what do I divide by? A square root of 3. So 5 square root of 3 divided by square root of 3. Remember, these square root of 3's cancel out, and I'm left with just 5. So that's how I get the short leg. And then again, if I know the short leg and I'm trying to get the hypotenuse, then I'm multiplying by 2. And that's what gives me the hypotenuse. Okay. All right, 3 more. So if we go ahead and get that moved up, then in this case, again, here's our 90, here's our 30, here's our 60. And again, across from the right angle is the hypotenuse, across from the 30 is the short leg, across from the 60 is the long leg. So again, I know the long leg this time, and I am trying to get the short leg. So I know I'm going to divide, and I need to divide by square root of 3. So 12 divided by square root of 3. Now here, sometimes it's where we have to do a little algebra off to the side. I'm not allowed to leave that square root in the denominator, so I need to multiply by square root of 3 over square root of 3. And that gives me, in the numerator, that gives me 12 square root of 3. In the denominator, remember, square root of 3 times square root of 3 is square root of 9, but the square root of 9 is 3. And from there, I know I can go ahead and simplify that down. 12 divided by 3 is 4. So that's what gives me this length, is 4 square root of 3. And then if I know the short leg and I'm trying to get the hypotenuse, I know I'm trying to get a bigger number, so I need to multiply by 2. So in this case, 2 times 4 square root of 3 just gives me 8 square root of 3. So that's what I get here. Okay. Then 2 more. So over here, if I go ahead and say, okay, 90, 30, and this is 60. Again, if I go ahead and label my sides, here's my hypotenuse across the right angle, here's across my 60 is my long leg, and here's across the 30 is my short leg. And use a different color here. So in this case, I can see that my hypotenuse is 17, and I need to find the short leg. So again, 17 divided by 2 gives me 8.5. Okay, I could leave that as a fraction if I wanted to, but if I want to go and do it as a decimal, since it's not a decimal that keeps going, that's fine to do that. And then if I know the short leg and I'm trying to find the long leg, I'm just multiplying by square root of 3. Okay. Again, if you wanted to leave this as the fraction 17 halves and leave that as 17 square root of 3 over 2, that's completely fine. But that's fine to write as a decimal as well. Okay, over here I've got a 90 and our 60, and so that's going to be a 30. Again, across from the 30 is my short leg, across from my 60 is my long leg, across from the 90 is my hypotenuse. So if I go ahead and work that out, then again, from short leg to hypotenuse, I'm multiplying by 2. And don't let the fraction scare you, that just gives you 2/3. Okay. From there, if I'm going from short leg to long leg, again, I'm trying to get a bigger number, so I'm going to multiply. And so I've got 1/3 times square root of 3, which just gives me square root of 3 over square root of 3. Okay, so again, that one looks a little different, but again, it's the same idea that we keep kind of repeating over and over. Sometimes there's this little bit of algebra we need to do off to the side, and sometimes there really is not. So again, if you have any questions on 30, 60, 90, feel free to contact me and I'll be glad to help you out.